what happens, Gaines puts it like this, quote, "The violence in Independence Day, coded as fiction, constructs a narrative binary opposition that clearly identifies good against evil. The available images representing the events of September 11th, using references drawn from Independence Day's sign-object relations, construct a narrative paradigm based upon the same themes, but coded as reality," unquote. So basically, that binary opposition that was intrinsic to the narrative paradigm of Independence Day, which was the binary opposition of good versus evil, all of a sudden it migrated from the realm of fiction into the realm of reality. It was recoded within the mass American psyche as reality. So the big question is, who gets to be good, who gets to be evil?
Who gets to be the aliens?
Yeah, who gets to be the aliens, and who gets to be the defenders of the beleaguered homeworld? Well, suddenly the United States becomes the beleaguered homeworld, and the alien invaders become, poof, Arabs.
Yeah, and George Bush becomes Bill Pullman.
Yeah.
Although I don't think Sandra Bullock would ever kiss him.
Yeah, but this and again, this is not a conspiracy theorist. This is a semiotician. Basically, what we have there is already the field is set for what Zbigniew Brzezinski himself would actually characterize as a Manichaean geopolitics later. And Zbigniew Brzezinski, of course, authored the geostrategy that was implemented in the early stages of the so-called war on terrorism. Now that the neoconservatives have kind of deviated from that geostrategy, which he delineated, by the way, in the Grand Chessboard, Brzezinski has kind of taken issue with them. And so Brzezinski quite correctly has characterized the campaign as Manichaean, and it's very much derivative of the Manichaean ultra dualistic worldview of just good versus evil, us against them, the good American empire against the evil Arab world. Now, what reinforced the Arab world being caricatured as evil becomes more evident when we do some syntagmatic analysis. Now, what syntagmatic analysis is syntagmatic analysis. Basically, it takes all the aggregate signs, and basically it studies the text structure and the correlating signs, and it puts them all together so that we can, because as Ferdinand de Saussure, who's considered kind of the founding fathers of semiotics, put it, he says, quote, "Normally we do not express ourselves by using single linguistic signs, but groups of signs organized in complexes which themselves are signs," unquote. So other signs came together with Independence Day, Ron and Sanya's intertextual reference to Independence Day, and the images of 9/11. What were those signs? Well, during the interview with Ron and Sanya on September 11th, 2001, Kirk interrupted the interview with what they called, quote unquote, an upsetting wire that just came across the wire from the West Bank, and basically Kirk proceeded to paint a very disturbing picture of militant Muslims, militant Islamic protesters celebrating the destruction of the Twin Towers. And she stated, quote, "Thousands of Palestinians celebrated Tuesday's terror attacks in the United States, chanting, 'God is great,' and distributing candy to passers-by, even as their leader, Yasser Arafat, said he was horrified," unquote. Now, as that report continued, Kirk read the same upsetting wire again, but this time she read it over top underneath a voiceover as a voiceover narrative to video footage of Palestinian celebrators. Now, that footage was accompanied by a title card that claimed that the event had occurred earlier that morning. Mm-hmm. Now, the juxtaposition of this image with Insanya's intertextual reference was intentional. It was designed to reinforce the paradigmatic template of good Americans against evil Arabs. All of a sudden, the defenders of the beleaguered homeworld from Independence Day, us, the Americans, are being beset by evil alien Arabs. So in the mind of the percipient, you have this causal connection already being formulated. Basically, the mantra being proffered there is, behold the face of the enemy, the entire Arab world. Now, what is especially important is the NBC later had to admit that it had committed a breach of ethics because the footage of the supposed Palestinian celebrators of Tuesday's terror attacks, that footage was actually archived video footage. And the supposed disturbing wire of thousands of Palestinians celebrating the WTC destruction, that was an unverified wire. Yep. But see, it didn't matter at that point. It didn't matter. All those signs came together, and now the dominant paradigm was established by basically the coalescence of all these signs coming together. And it was all set off by one intertextual reference to Independence Day. And that basically set the tone for the rest of the war. Basically, Elliot Gaines puts it like this. He says, quote, "The stereotypical images of Arab Mid-Eastern-looking people celebrating on a street could be falsely anchored to a specific people from a designated time and place," unquote. Now the world was looking at Islamic extremism as the ultimate enemy, when the true criminals, the Zbigniew Brzezinskis of the world, the neocons, really hid behind this semiotic mirage.
No doubt about it.